I believe the Bible is one of the most entrepreneurial books to take inspiration from. I want you to think about the biblical story of the Exodus from a different perspective. Moses did not dream to free the Israelites. He actually grew up with Pharaoh. But everybody knew he was not Egyptian royalty. When you're an entrepreneur, and in today's world of work in general, you have to know who you want to be. You can't let others tell you who you want to be. And on the other side, if you're not realistic and you want to be something you are not, the world is going to tell you who you are. Now, I don't know how many of you remember, Moses actually lived in the desert before the Exodus. So he was a Bedouin. When he did his market research, he didn't just collect data from Google. He actually lived as the customer. He didn't study the Bedouins, he was a Bedouin. I believe this really helped him a few years later when he led people over there. So you have to know your market. There's one thing studying the desert, and it's another thing living in the desert. Now this is a big one. Giving Pharaoh the finger, let my people go, is very easy, right? Even stepping into the desert is very easy. So declaring that you're starting your own business is easy. Even the first month is easy. You know, the actual few kilometers between the delta of the Nile and the Dead Sea, it's not that big of a desert. And then you come to the Red Sea. And what happens in the Red Sea? Take the stick, bang the stone, and what happens? Miracle. Here's the version for startups. We launched our product and it went viral. We had so many downloads. So it must mean that we're good. So probably the next version we're going to be viral too. Problem is, you can't count on the Red Sea to split every time. You actually have to learn how to swim. And even if you got lucky and your beta version went viral, what are you going to do then? Because now you have 40 years of desert. And the desert, I don't need to tell you, the desert is hot in the day, cold during at night, no shade, no food. Not an easy place, just like the market. And even if you have your own business and you already have some people working for you and you love them, but sometimes they disappoint you, when you are the decision maker, it's a very lonely journey. Many of us, we embark on some entrepreneurial journey. We want to start our business, our startup, our own freelance business, whatever that is. And we have this idea about the Garden of Eden. And we confuse the Garden of Eden with the Promised Land. The Promised Land is not the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was a myth. We ate from the apple, we're not going back. So we have this dream about where we want to be with this project or with this venture, with this startup, with this job. And we have this dream, but we're not really getting there. And what really happens is we're actually getting to Promised Lands, but we say, that's not what I meant. And we miss Promised Lands because we're trying to chase something that is not realistic. So the Garden of Eden is a fantasy. The Promised Land is a real place. When you get to the Promised Land, you still have problems. Droughts, the tribes don't get along. It's a real place. And it may take 40 years in the desert. So why do it? When you find something that is worth winning for, meaning you find a cause, a purpose, or a dream, or an idea that you say, you know, I could do other things. I'll probably be more successful, but I want to do that. I want to win with this, and not with other things. When you find something that is worth winning for, you also find something that is worth losing for. Even if this didn't work, I am still very proud that I tried. Because if I didn't try, I would regret more. And when you find something that is worth winning for, you find something that is worth losing for, you find something that is worth living for. Try to build a company you actually want to work in. So a lot of people talk about happiness. I would like to talk more about greatness, the world of work, which is the new desert. And this desert is different than the land of Goshen, the Egypt that we grew up in and that we were prepared for in school, university, whatever. You used to think that it's about jobs. You come to discover that it's more about careers. And careers are not just jobs. What you thought is constant is now becoming a variable, and what you felt is a variable is becoming a constant. Now consider the pace of change. Almost half of the jobs that you know today will be gone in 10 years. Let's say it's not going to be 10, 20. Still, this is a big number. Almost half of the US workforce will become freelancers. Your younger brothers and sisters who are in middle school will work for new jobs that you don't even know what they are yet. So constants and variables. And there are exactly the ones that your future bosses will not tell you. You need to tell them. That is the big change in the new desert we are all going to be in, whether we want to or not. Which brings me to my punchline. I believe that in today's world of work, all of us are actually like business units. It doesn't matter if we started our own business, if we're co-founders in a startup, or we are employees in the bank. I believe that in the new world of work, in this new desert, we all have to think as if we are the owner and CEO of our own business. When you think like that, things start to change. What happened in the desert is as if the judges switched the rules from football to basketball, and nobody told us. So what does it mean to think like a business unit? Business units need to produce outputs. You're all going to take jobs. Your employer is supposed to get an output from your work. They also have to put inputs in order to get the outputs. They need to pay you a salary. Let's agree that the outputs have to be bigger than the inputs. If you cost your employer 100 shekels and you produce 80, you're not a good business unit. The only way you could be a good business unit is if you produce 80 for your employer and you cost 60. So they make a profit out of you. So they will give you the 60. You want to receive a salary for 60, which is why you will take a job where you produce 80 and you're happy with the 60. Your boss's job used to be to make sure that the outputs are bigger than the inputs. Because if you slack around, they will fire you because the inputs are bigger than the outputs. And I would claim that today it's our job to make sure that the outputs are bigger than the inputs. To keep the job and to advance and to think like entrepreneurs. If we are all business units, I really believe that we need to think about our employer as our customer. If you have a business, you want to have customers who receive a good product. You also want them to be satisfied. If you have a job and all you do is check, check, check and go home, it's not good enough. Because you need to satisfy the customer in order to advance. Your boss is the customer because they pay for the inputs. The other people in the office are consumers. They are in your team, they will be from the other department. They don't pay for the inputs, but they enjoy the outputs. It's a new state of mind. So again, I'm doing what I'm asked better and faster is not necessarily good enough. For the same way that if you need a lawyer and the lawyer does the same work better and faster, you're not going to pay them more. If they do something else for you, maybe you will. So checking the boxes is not enough. Your employer cannot tell you who you are.